mute and start the recording and come over there. And then by the time I'm over there, we'll have a meeting to start. Great. Let's call this meeting order and please stand for the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation. The village and county default board humbly acknowledge that we are the traditional land of the Muncie and Suffolk and Alaska people. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 forced people to relocate to inhospitable territory far from the bountiful valley and mountains we inhabit today. The village further acknowledges that much of the business infrastructure in our village and town is built by enslaved Africans who labored as the property of their owners until 1827 restoration. We acknowledge and honor the contributions, resilience, and accomplishments of the BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous, and people of color who have overcome historic injustice to inform our past and inspire our future. The village of New Paltz encourages everyone to learn more about the contributions and sacrifices made by the indigenous people and enslaved Africans by visiting these sites. If you have resources that you believe should be included here, please contact us.
Awesome. We've opened the joint meeting with the pledge, right? So let's do our approval of agenda. And the way I wrote my notes, actually, Tim, now I'm realizing I was going to proceed with the agenda as we get to that. That's cool. Instead of all at once now, in case you guys have stuff to add later. Cool. So I move to approve the joint agenda as it is. Second. Cool. All in favor? Aye. Awesome. So let's do some announcements. There's a whole bunch of great town announcements. Somebody from the town want to share them out loud before I hear some other announcements. Cool.
The town currently has the following board committee open: volunteer planning board has open positions, as well as the environmental conservation board, community preservation board, and forest preservation commission. If you're interested, please contact the assistant at townofviewfalls.ny.gov. And the Memorial Pool applications are available at Town Hall. When you enter the building, go straight ahead and you're on the table. They may be picked up Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. The 38th annual New Paltz Easter egg hunt is on Saturday, March 28th from noon to 3 at historic Huguenot Street. It's a free event. The March Repair Cafe is the 21st of March from 10 to 2 at the New Connections United Methodist Church right here on Main Street. And the New Paltz Youth Program and soon New Paltz are teaming up and will be hosting the 2026 Spring Cleanup on April 18th from 12 to 2. That's where you get to pick up trash. You get to get that warm, fuzzy feeling like visual victory. It's like, you know, that solo cup that was there, now it's gone. And then Kitty, you're going to provide a Greenway update.
Yeah, I just wanted to update everybody on the Greenway because I'm not sure that you all know about its historic and regional significance. New Paltz was one of the first communities to officially join the Greenway back in 1990. At last week's meeting, the Greenway Conservancy welcomed a new board member, Ulster County Executive Clerk, Ulster County Clerk, Taylor Broad. He joins me, Senator Michelle Hinchy, Cindy Watseva, and Steve Yarabat as Ulster County representatives. This is important for New Paltz and Ulster County because we are home to about 40 miles of the Empire State Trail, the nation's longest multi-use state trail. The trail spans 750 miles, 10.6 miles of which are New Paltz. While the EST is a state amenity, local municipalities are responsible for its maintenance. The Walker Valley Land Trust is a local nonprofit and they manage the trail and they are always looking for volunteers. You should probably have that to our announcements. Last summer, Supervisor Gatto, WDLC Executive Director Christy DeBoer, and I met with the Greenway to request technical and financial assistance for a formal bridge inspection and feasibility study for our Springtown Wallkill Bridge. The Greenway agreed to cover the cost of $75,000. The preliminary results are in. They are the federal SBNI condition ratings, which have an evaluation scale of up to 9. If the lowest rating is greater than or equal to 7, the bridge is classified as good. If it is less than or equal to 4, the classification is poor. Thanks to this Greenway grant, we now know that the structural condition of our famous quiet bridge varies from a 4, which is bad, to a 7. I'll send everybody the complete report when it's in. But for now, I'd like to express our appreciation for the incredible staff at the Greenway, particularly Cody Orena, regional planner, for the many hours he spent personally inspecting our bridge. In terms of grants, many of which were awarded last week, including big money for updating comprehensive plans, I urge everyone to go to hudsongreenway.new.gov to learn more about the unique state agency created to preserve the scenic, natural, historic, cultural, and recreational resources of the Hudson Valley. So that's our 25-year update.
Oh, wow. And that was fast for a 25-year update. Thank you. Okay, I have some announcements. So today is the 18th. Tomorrow is finally March 19th, which is our shine a light on your utilities rights event, where it is our Landlord Tenant Relations Council, our Housing Smart Communities Task Force, myself, the campus chapter, New Paltz campus chapter of New York Public Interest Research Group, and my favorite state department, which is New York's Public Utility Law Project. And my old best friend, Lori Wheelock, will be returning to town for this awesome workshop all about utilities. So it'll be a good chance to learn about what rights and responsibilities you have when it comes to dealing with Central Hudson in particular, and how to troubleshoot and get help, when you run into issues. So they do tailor this workshop for our community, as we are in the village, at least 80% of us are renters. If don't worry if you are not a homeowner, I'm not either. And every single year we've done this event, gotten so much out of it. So it's tomorrow, Thursday, March 19th at 6:00 p.m. in the Student Union building on campus in room 401. And I can't wait to see you all there. I also wanted to share, the whole community is invited. One of my favorite artists and shops in town, Crescent Magic, is throwing, a happy new mayor party this Saturday from 2 o'clock to 6:00 p.m. She has curated a number of different artists and stuff. And so I will treat those 4 hours as office hours with a notebook to take, down any thoughts, opinions, questions, problems, etc. So, and I guess I will be making a cake too. So see you there. On the 28th, so that's a week from this Saturday, is the annual Sojourner Truth Walk. And so that is from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. It starts at the Dietz Stadium parking lot in Kingston, and it's a free annual community event that celebrates and really honors, in my opinion, the life of abolitionist and women's rights activist Sojourner Truth, with this guided historic walk. And, even just doing it a few times, I find it as a way to really kind of reset how to be intentional about, about dismantling white supremacy in a very real way. So I'll be there and hope to see you all there. Anyone else have announcements? Cool. So let's move on to public input. I did have a sign-up sheet on the round table next to the art about pigs flying. So if anyone signed in on that, basically members of the public can speak on any issue. Please address the boards. You'll come up, so the mic can pick you up and the camera can too, so our clerks can take notes. You'll keep your comments to 3 minutes or less and share your name and your relationship to New Paltz, so you don't have to share your whole address out there for the world. We'll start with folks on the list, then move on to anyone on Zoom that may want to make a comment, and then to anyone who did not sign up who wants to make a comment too. And Supervisor Rogers, you put a chair for the commenters. Awesome. And thank you so much. Paul Brown, we'll start with you. Sorry, we're making you get your steps in tonight.
Good evening, my name is Paul Brown, I live in New Paltz, and I've been following the suggestions on the Village of New Paltz website, and now I see the coordinated websites which have all the documents, which I think is absolutely terrific, and I appreciated the one pager that was sent out, because I think this part of your voter outreach. Now there are more people that can go to one spot and vote for websites and but we didn't have focus. When I was chair of the planning board and chair of the board, especially one day, the father brought a young person along, that's okay, and said, when someone asked a question, it was public comment, and said, "Are you the government?" And I said, "Well, we're not elected, but we're appointed by the government, and you are the government, then elected officials and appointed, and which Steve Jasmine had us, congratulations. So I have been using that document, and I found that we're going through the proposed dissolution was fine. Really, the 20 pages at the end, which are charts and the glossaries, they're the kind of thing that you will have to now agree on in order to make the assumptions true in the liberation. And that's where the real deliberation comes. So probably I just want to suggest 3 additional documents, not necessarily for all the hoisting to the website, but certainly for the 10 of you, and I read them carefully. I won't go through the details of all of them, but one is a pretty safe document, and it might be posted because it's published by the New York State Department of State. It's a little dated 1998, but it's a simple 8-pager. And I've got a PDF, it's not still downloadable, and I used it a lot for my own understanding previous efforts. It's got a 7-page treasure trove, I'd say, of information for folks thinking about consolidation as we are, a cost savings checklist for use by elected officials and citizens, advice on studying consolidation. It's been studied, but the document that LaBerge it reads on the title, Proposed Dissolution of the Village. This is, as Tim has pointed out, a consolidation. So, but it works for both. It mentions them in here. And it's got a study glossary for terms, which might be helpful to citizens. I know it was helpful to me. And a 1-page list of questions. 1-pagers are in the modern world. A 1-page list of questions for elected officials and citizens considering a consolidation. So that's and I guess I heard this. It's the James A. Coon. It's called Consolidation, very simple, Consolidation for Towns and Villages. Part of the James A. Coon Technical Series, and I put the reference in what I think what the link is. I work, but I will obviously do 2 additional articles here. One by the Benjamin, not related that, one by the Rockefeller Institute of Government, which Professor Benjamin is a good friend, admired, and a fascinating article that I think applies to our village and town by Linda K. Parshall. She's a distinguished professor of political science at Dana University in Amherst, New York, and one other article. Okay, so that will save me to get to the other side. Because of reading through this and also looking at the 1-pager, I'm reminded, and I think we may have some students from participation in government that are thinking about them. We now see a very simple 1-pager that says all the things you'll be doing. And if we want to pay attention and watch on TV or come here or get on TV, you're going to be voting on a joint consolidation agreement you must agree, the governing bodies involved must first draft a written document containing the terms and information regarding the consolidation. Then a joint resolution to officially commence proceedings, then a public notification, then public hearings, you vote, and
Do
the
you mind backing up real quick? Sorry.
referendum resolution, it's all in here.
Yeah.
My point is, there are gonna be a lot of votes, and I appreciate that, I have been taking the votes too. And, long before November 3rd, when the citizens get to vote, a lot of votes here. And I appreciate the heavy lifting that you're doing. I know you're gonna do the deepest dive if you can. It all begins with your own fact-based deliberations and evidence-based decision-making, and I've heard you talk about that here, reference to it, and that's so important. I think it keeps things civil and moving along. And I appreciate the many hard hours of hard work that you already put in. And you're gonna be spending more preparing for meetings, attending meetings, considering different points of view, not to mention the stop and chats and job right and cops and Hanford. So I want to thank you for your service to the community. And I will try to follow the rules by handing these additional copies to the contacts.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Just contact, thank you for being.
Sorry,
And I
I'm
now
so
know where
fast,
to go.
but yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, that was all that signed up on the sheet. Was there any public comments on Zoom? Also, it looks like some people are trying to get in. So, yeah, thank you. Teamwork makes the dream work.
You know what? I'm gonna admit them all at once.
You know, we're still getting our systems down pat here. So, yeah, if there were any Zoom public commenters, if you could make yourselves known and yeah. Okay, any other public comments that didn't make one in person yet that wanted to make one? Okay, cool. Well, that's it for our public input. So on to our joint business agenda. So first up, we had our county waste discussion with county waste staff. I didn't think ahead and put enough chairs up front, but
No, it's just one.
oh, it's just one?
Yes.
Okay, cool, perfect. Come on up, so the mic and everything can be hooked up. Yes, hopefully wherever. Yeah, thank you.
Would it be easier for you to put your laptop on?
Maybe.
So I always give some quick background.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
Town and the village, are in our second 5-year term where we, had an RFP process and selected county waste for the second term to be the community single hauler for residential only. It excludes any commercial properties. So this is a check-in that we asked for. You know, it's a challenging winter with a lot of, snow and ice and delays and, you know, we had to endure a significant number of complaints. I'm sure you did as well. So we thought it made sense to invite you to a meeting and update our board.
Yeah, so, during those winter months, what had happened was it was Christmas and New Year's. And we were a day behind, you know, into the holiday. And then, it snowed every Monday. Every Monday. So what I just wanted to explain to you guys, we have tablets in all of our trucks. So what our drivers actually do is they can actually take a picture of the road or the condition. There was a lot of cans that were stuck in banks or, you know, the snowplow, they can't help anything. But on this, it gives the address, that it's side loader, what the driver is. So if there's any time that, you know, anyone has any questions, we have 7 cameras on every single truck, front, back, hopper, the side for the automated side load. We can pull any footage and, you know, answer any questions that anyone has. Moving forward, one thing that worked well is it was gonna snow on Monday. And customers had not had any service on Monday. I think it was probably 2 weeks. So we actually pulled theirs ahead and picked it up on Saturday. So that worked out very well. So I think that's what we're gonna do moving forward since it works so well. Um, I've been here as the district manager for county waste in Montgomery for a year and a half now. So I'm working my second year, and I hope that everyone sees a change in the process that we're doing. Especially, we have the brand new automated side load. There's absolutely no complaints of glass being on the roadway anymore. So that's a plus. But I think the major complaints were, the snow and the ice, and we're hoping to have our truck for the Earth Day, so everyone can see the truck.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely what we want to do again. Last year, a lot of people didn't get to see it because of the rain. It wasn't a big turnout, so hopefully.
I'll make sure myself and Councilmember Brown will circle back with you about specifics for Earth Day, because that would be really, really awesome. It's sweet.
Were there any issues or challenges with, do we want to let that person in? We want to make sure he's like a legitimate person.
Yep, there goes that.
Okay, cool. Were there any issues with like when you pick up on a weekend, like a Saturday, and go to the transfer station, like in terms of like their hours of operations on Saturdays?
So the town of Lubbock actually gave permission for us to start early. So we actually made I think it's noon is when it goes. And so we actually made it to the new Falls transfer station.
So you're just able to start earlier as opposed to our
Yes.
our agreement as well.
Yes,
as
7
The
a.m.
village's law of 7 a.m.
Yes, but we were able to start, I believe we started at 3 a.m. So we were able to get to the transfer station. It was a group effort. It was.
Any other questions?
And I have a question. When you change the dates, this is something people ask me all the time, is where do you tell people that? I get a notification from an app,
Yes.
but if you don't have the app or other things, do you mind just sharing where are the best places to know when those changes are coming?
So we call it a call blast, and it goes out to email, telephone, and a text message. So the one thing is making sure that we have the correct information, meaning email and cell phone and house phone. So that's how we notify.
Do you post it anywhere like in social media or any other place where I can go, like on website?
It's county waste, our county waste websites. But I can get all the information for you.
I will just say that you are hard to reach. And I appreciate all the ways in which you let us know that our pickup day is going to change. Sometimes I just didn't get those messages.
Mhm.
And then sometimes you got stuck. You'd say we're going to pick you up on Saturday, and then something would happen and our stuff would sit out there for days. So I don't really know how to ask you to do this, but if you're not going to be able to come on the alternate day that you told us, maybe let us know so we can pull our bins off of the road for the snowplow.
Okay.
So, thanks.
Can I ask a question of the board? In this evening's conversation, is there a role we're playing in deciding on that second 5-year term, or is that second 5-year term already?
We're in the midst of the second 5-year term.
Okay. So we're just
Got a couple
checking
years left on, so check.
Okay.
Probably the only action taken was me writing down Earth Day.
See.
But I do have one other thing.
Yes.
In the past, the recycling, there was a lot of confusion about.
Mhm.
Do we separate still? Do we not separate? What's the process for that?
Yeah, you would.
It used to be that it was cardboard 1 week and then glass and.
No, everything is
So we
co-equal.
have 2 bins. There's green bin and the
Yes, but in the green bin, it used to be, there was, alternative.
Right, no, it's all commingled.
It's now.
It's all single stream. If anyone on either board, I've been to the Merck up in Albany a couple of times, and that's the best way to understand like what county waste can do as far as recycling. And I think what's unique about the Merck up in Albany is I think you can recycle about 16 different types of products, whereas the Ulster County Transfer Station can do about 5.
Yeah, we had, I think it was a $3 million project that they put state of the art. You put everything on a conveyor belt, you know, little conveyor belts and bags will come off, because you can't recycle those. The main thing that we have, is residents putting recyclables in trash cans. So you are defeating the purpose of recycling by putting it in a trash bag. And a lot of times when we go to the transfer station to dump our recyclables, they see a trash bag and they'll charge you MSW that's garbage.
Everything should be loose.
Yes, everything should be loose, but the garbage should be in garbage bags.
So, getting back to that idea, like you recycle like 15-ish number of items, but there's not necessarily a market for some of those plastics all the time. So like you can separate out black plastics and you'll bail them.
Yes.
What do? You wait for
So we hold
when
them until,
markets.
yes, when the markets are able to sell, we just hold them there. We have trailers that hold everything.
In conversations with different people, there seems to be a lot of confusion about how effective recycling is. Is there a place, since we're working with you, is there a place you have on your website that definitively says what is recyclable and what isn't?
Yes, we have a page to where it, it explains what's good and what's not. Which I can send that to everyone and we can circulate it.
I highly recommend visiting there. It's really fascinating. You see all the lasers and the other mechanicals that blow things at different weights. It's, I think the replacement value for the Merck is like $50 million. It's
Yes.
a very sophisticated facility.
That's my field trip. Oh, and I probably should have said this at the beginning, but there's a couple of folks from the press here, so if you want to say like your name and title.
Jennifer Williamson, and I'm the district manager, kind of say it, sorry. I wanted to say back to the calls. We have a site or we have a call center. So we have sites in many different places, like you said, Albany, and have one in payroll as well. So that call center, it's all humans, it's not automated. So you're always speaking to someone and they take calls from all 3 locations. So that's why sometimes when you call, your caller number 20, but we have about 30 customer service representatives in there taking all the calls. So we're trying our best and getting everyone in there.
Yeah, I just want to say that the sheet that showed you what you can recycle is really helpful. I printed it, it's on my refrigerator. I mean, I know it by now, but it really helped at the beginning. I think it's a set to recycle.
Yes.
It's really important.
Jennifer, one of the things that we're talking most about is just picked up on time, or whether things get picked up on the day that the customer expected it to be picked up. Do you have data on that you report to the town of village? On, that either you collect or that some other trusts select?
Yeah, so what we do is we send frontage and then we send customer complaints. So that's what we keep up with. I can.
So something that would say
Yeah,
99.5% of our customers get picked up on the day they expect to be picked up. That's not really something you track, but what you would track is they call to complain, they complain.
Yes, so a non-pickup is a complaint. We have utilized a mistruck is what we call it. So if it was like a laid out or we actually drove by it and missed it, we can actually go back the next day. So that's what we utilize during the snowstorm and what we're still continuing to do.
That's a good question. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. And yeah, we'll circle back about all of the day details and should we also reach out to you about getting a field trip going from the
Yes.
first one?
Well,
Yeah, cool. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up on our joint agenda is the annexation resolution. Yeah, put it to you, Tim.
Oh, what about consolidated?
Oh, sorry. I was so excited about it that I skipped it. Let's go back to consolidation.
You have Katie in the dark.
Oh, I'm so dark. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello. Sorry, I didn't realize how in the dark I was. Hi, everybody. Katie Tobin from the Benjamin Center. You may have noticed, as some have, you can now go to the town website and click right there in the middle on consolidation documents. And there's a nice list of documents that you can access there going all the way back, I think, to 2011. Let me just pull that up. Right, all the way back to the fair weather report. And so lots of information there. The most recent one of which is the consolidation timeline. And it basically is key dates, decisions that the town board and village board need to make along the way. And if affirmative in for consolidation along the way, it will culminate in a vote on election day, November 3rd. So that's just the first in a series of informational pagers we'll be posting. Until May, when, you know, we have the draft consolidation agreement available. Most of the one pagers are going to be overused broad brushes. So we're going to go from the broad to the narrow. And that's basically what we're looking at right now, from now until November. That's the plan.
Rich, can I bother you to let maybe someone else, sorry, for the,
No bother.
another
It's my
bug
job.
that we will figure out for next time.
I'm going to turn my light on.
So when Paul hands in a document, and I send some questions to you and Lauren, where do they end up?
In our Wednesday meeting, probably, right, you have a meeting on Tuesday.
Oh.
It's what come up. Yeah.
Okay.
Today.
Okay.
I have a copy, but I wasn't able to find the Roberta report in the shared document, the dissolution study. Is that something that we're not holding because
It's not on the village website.
I thought it was.
well, it's on the village website, but not in this town consolidation set.
We can add it there.
Yeah, let's
Oh,
just,
good catch. We'll add that. Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, and so to your question, Kitty, you know, this is not, right now, this like little list of documents is not like all the public comments and stuff, because otherwise it would be a folder with a billion comments, right? So I guess we'll figure out a process.
You had said something about creating a repository for which, you know, I think a lot for you guys to deal with, but I think, you know, that's how we get to yes, is people say, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I missed what you in the beginning, Kitty, but on the website, there is a plan that there'll be a way for people to submit questions and comments. So it'll also be one-stop shopping for being able to ask questions and submit comments.
The thing that was confusing for us during the last go round was that we would ask all of these questions, and then I guess Ben would answer the ones that he could, but a lot of them said, you know, to be determined, or go here, or go to the Department of State for answers. So maybe we can go back if you feel that you have more complete answers for some of those, because I guess it was 2 years ago or so when it was all started, people had good questions, if we can get them under our belt now, I think we can move forward efficiently.
And related to that, there are a set of questions, and also one of the things we saw recently was a set of sort of topics. We talked about maybe the potential for one pagers and kind of summary takeaways on those topics. What is the time? I looked at the timeline for the entire consolidation process. But what's the timeline for us to integrate those key questions and topics into our agenda, such that there's a lead up to the May 26th agreement deadline, and then a lead up to the next thing where we've had, intentional opportunities to discuss all these topics.
KT, you can answer that, right?
Yeah, so I mean, the process should be, we have our weekly meetings, so it goes through that initial group, the one pagers, and then they should go into packets. That's not a law, so it's not like something that you vote on. It's really up to you guys if you want to take a pass at everything, or if you want it to go to the website once your representatives on the working group. That's really a process decision that I hadn't thought of till now, but that's up to you guys, right? But sure, we thought the process was to go through the working group and then into packets and then on to the website. You can nuance that as you see fit.
It probably makes sense to if it goes through the working group, it goes on the website, and then it's available for both board and public's discussion, and then if there's needed follow-up questions, then they get edited.
Yeah, sure. The way we're looking at it is it's dynamic process. It's a very iterative process. So yeah, if we screw something up, we know where we are, we'll be told, and we'll fix our mistake, and hope not that we're gonna have any mistakes. Just kidding. But there may be additive things that we need to put in addition, whatnot, but it's not static. Like once we put those things up, if we want to change them, we can do that.
Well, I'm sorry, I have a lot of questions. I'm just making sure I have an understanding and also.
Please ask them.
No, it's good.
So it sounds like most of the deliberation and sort of discussion and maybe even decision making is scheduled to take place in the weekly meetings that are specific to with that group. But what I'm asking also is where is the opportunity for the members of the village board and town board to have that voice, and also where does the transparency of the public into those discussions live? If we're just going to get one pagers and be like, yeah,
Right, so the one pager that we have is really the first one, is really just identifying the dates. And
Yeah.
It's a tentative time.
Yeah.
So let's say you had a one pager about, the way to approach fire districts versus fire protection districts. I think what we've discussed is that should be on a joint agenda, a village agenda, a town agenda, right? As these one pagers get composed, then they just get added to the agenda. So that they should just be discussion topics at all of our meetings, and then we're going to have the required public hearings as well as Alex is going to have encouraging people to get together and ask their questions about local government at Preston Magic on Saturday. I anticipate that there will be other pop-up type opportunities for the community. Paul, and it's from my experience too, a lot of public questions and answers occur in grocery stores. So maybe we could even, contact cops and use their seating area and even invite the community to come and, we'll be sitting there from 12 to 2, come ask us about, the draft consolidation agreement with the one pagers that the Benjamin Center disclosed. So I think, the more of that, kind of going to where people are, in addition to inviting people to come see us. So if you have ideas, at the halftime at the lacrosse game on Saturday, where I'm sure we'll both be watching our kids. If we want to talk to some of our neighbors about some of these ideas, we can just formalize that.
Great. I like the first thing you said, which is this idea, it sounds like a standing agenda item at our joint meeting.
It's in our resolution.
That's, yeah, that has those built in, and I'm asking these questions in part for the information for the public. And then I also love the idea of like being on the road. Thank you.
I think this is a fairly ambitious timeline. We're in the middle of March, and by May, not sure if it's early May or end of May, this draft agreement is going to be ready, and then on June 1st, we vote on that agreement. So, things are moving along pretty quickly.
We've been talking about this for what? How many years, Tim? A while, right? So it's been,
So you feel confident? that you know the conditions?
Excuse me, I just wanted to mention, the timeline, is, in accord with the Board of Elections. So, Kathleen from LaBerge has consulted with Ashley from Board of Elections, and we sort of backed out the schedule from that. So, sorry to interject, but I thought that was important to make sure you all knew that, this has been in discussion with the Board of Elections. And so the stuff that's baked in, the reason these dates are the way they are is because those are all the things that need to happen between now and November if it goes on the ballot.
So, the town board will be meeting the first Thursday of May. So are we talking about having this resolution ready by then, or ready for the joint meeting? Probably the joint meeting, because that's what we agreed on anyway.
Yeah, right. This is a joint board initiated approach. And I think what's interesting in my application was talking about too, was like the dates are reverse engineered based on the election day of November 3rd. So, Alex and I contacted the county board of elections. We made them our timeline, make sure that we're on their radar screen. I think what's interesting is if you were to compare a citizen initiated approach, the timeline is even tighter. So, we specifically are pursuing a board initiative, so it gives us flexibility.
I also want to point out that the May date is the presentation of the draft consolidation agreement. And then there's public hearings. And then there's a final agreement in August. So, my experience at, like being a planning board, for example, if we'd have a seeker process or something, there would be a draft. And then the public hearing, you learn quite a few things that you might not have considered in that draft. So it feels like there's an opportunity to iterate on the document. There is the opportunity to iterate on the document all the way up to August, which does give us additional time. That said, Katie, I appreciate what you're saying, because it's kind of in line with what I've been asking, which is if we're supposed to have a standing agenda item about consolidation in the joint meeting, there's really only two before this draft agreement. So I think two joint meetings for the draft agreement. So my recommendation is this, that we kind of load up a couple of these topics.
We have it on our
agenda. Some of them might not be worthy of discussion, and I don't want to force discussion on things that aren't worthy, but I do want to just say, let's make sure that our next two meetings have some of the most maybe critical and or controversial points to talk about.
I'm sorry to keep harping on this, but it says that on June 1st, the town and village boards will vote to support or reject the joint resolution.
Yeah.
So that's
formally endorsing the draft consolidation.
Right.
and officially kicking off the process.
So are we going to set that as a date for a meeting, June 1st? It's a Monday.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the reason is because of the backwards timeline.
that's fine. I just want
Yeah.
to get it all on our calendars.
Yeah, no, thank you for pointing that out. It's been a lot, and it is a lot, but it's so worth going with this timeline, let's just put this question to the test,
Yeah.
So, yeah, we did all the backwards timelining to make sure we can get the information that has to get to the board of elections in time, and that whole 17A, like timeline that's pretty specific. And have that and the board of elections timelines like overlap in a way that was thumbs up from Department of State and board of elections. So that's why there's a few off dates there. So
That's fine.
yeah,
They're just there, so we're gonna vote on the draft Monday, June 1st at 7 p.m.
Yeah, and Alex has been working on rooms and places and making sure where there was overlap, things had places to go, so as y'all, anybody that ever's worked on those kind of logistics, it's
Right, so we were talking about.
complicated. But
before-
also doing hopefully doing the July 7th one at the middle school, for example.
Yeah, so Casey, I can provide an update with that.
Yeah.
We were talking about how
Okay.
July, to make sure that we have our individual meetings, our joint meetings, as well as the
Mhm.
official public hearing. So we reached out to the superintendent of schools because we felt it would make a great deal of sense to have it in a central location that's super accessible. So we asked for the middle school auditorium, and that was a quick yes from the superintendent of schools. So that's going to be from 6 to 9 p.m. on Tuesday, July 7th. And then, we have some proposed dates to make sure that we have all of our other town and village and joint meetings in the month of July.
yeah. So village board, I will be. Wait, we don't have to move the village meeting that month, right? Is how we figured it, right?
I sent you a proposal.
Yeah, I have a proposal. We'll figure it
But the
out.
key thing
Yeah.
is that July 7th, 6 p.m. at the middle school auditorium. And it was really nice to be able to reach out to our school superintendent and get a response back in, 35 minutes.
Yeah, thank you for
Where
that.
he's like, I already reserved it for you, you're good.
And some of those dates too, Kitty, I think address questions you had at previous meetings about opportunities, for us to do this outside of our regularly scheduled meetings, so we have the full agenda, so that's how that works. Yeah. Well, anything else on consolidation topics for tonight? Yeah, I guess, I know village, we'll definitely put this on our own agenda next month, just so people have more places to find all the links, and if there's anything to discuss, we'll discuss it. If not, we'll just have it there, and we'll carry on. Cool. Thanks for coming, Katie.
Good night, thanks everybody.
Good night.
All right, so next on our agenda is the annexation resolution.
So there's actually two resolutions,
two.
right? So there's one, and all we're doing is working towards settling the topic of annexation. So the village board approved secret review can move forward, and the town and village are okay with the property being annexed into the village. That is the only topic being addressed, per this resolution. The site plan review that the village planning board will take on happens subsequently. So the reason that I pointed out that there's two different resolutions is that the town has their own resolution, the village has their own resolution, and then there are two stipulation documents. And those documents are basically, let me step back. The resolutions are basically instructions for the attorneys to go ahead and take the stipulations and present them to the court. So I'm going to propose that our town board go into executive session and speak with our attorney during the village board portion of this meeting. So that, we can just receive counsel regarding, exactly, whether or not we want to proceed with green lighting the resolution. So, open it up to the rest of the county bill to add any additional comments about, your understanding of what we're considering.
Yeah, my understanding was basically the village must wait on the town to make a move. Before we have a move to make.
Before you vote on whether,
Yeah.
whether or not to vote on your resolution. Okay.
Yeah, which would be to accept your resolution. Cool, so. Shall we move on to the agenda?
Yeah, let's do the rest of the agenda and then we'll go into exec.
Okay.
And then you guys can do your business meeting and we'll just.
Cool, sound good, everyone? Cool. So next up, we have, this awesome item, so I'm just gonna say, I move to jointly approve the town and village. And so we can do this jointly, by the way, because we already did the money part, so I move to jointly approve the town and village historic preservation commissions to hire Ashley PhD as an outside contractor from March to June 2026 at an hourly rate of $50, not to exceed $5,000, to coordinate and manage the Revolutionary Youth Health events commemorating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, rock and roll. Thank you, Ashley. Next up is our joint town and village procurement policy. Did anyone have updates on this? I know I have not been doing my homework to follow up and get things on track to that end, but did want to share that I'm setting up on a related note, a call with environmental legal organization that's working on a green amendment. And I know Councilmember Brown's was interested in doing the same, that might relate to this too. So that's the only update I had, was like I'm doing kind of related homework. Anything else on this, or do we just carry it on until next time? We're working on it. Cool. Next is our ICLEI membership renewal. At our last joint meeting, the folks at the table asked for more information, so I wanted to just provide that and then we can do the vote. But it's the software that does require an annual fee to access. And so it let's basically, so our volunteers on our climate smart task force, basically what their work is to research, analyze, report on the greenhouse gas emissions. And so using this software, long story short, makes it so none of the work from one group of volunteers to the next will get lost when a volunteer might move on to do something else with their lives, like start a family, move, get a new job, or take a break, whatever people do with their lives when they're not volunteering, which they should be doing too, right? So we don't want this information from our greenhouse gas emissions reports to live on any like Google Drive or a spreadsheet or anything like that. And that's what this software actually allows us to do effectively. So the proposal is for us to, at the village and town, to split the $1,200 annually. And yeah, that's the long and short of it. It's consistent data and reporting, which we live for. So I move to approve the village paying for half the cost to join ICLEI at the cost of $600 annually, the town doing the same in the next motion. Second? Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. And then if you want someone on the town side, make your
And
town.
looks like the town hears Alex's motion. All in favor?
Awesome. Next is the authorization to approve a resolution supporting state legislation and impose an excise tax on high energy use cryptocurrency mining facilities. I move. Katie, I just want to steal your motion though.
No, I'm just so glad to see you here. For anybody who's been following the Tonawanda stamp problem up at the Senate, it's just shocking what's happening. So this is going to be a mega data mining center adjacent to the sacred grounds of the Tonawanda people. So this is one small step to at least making the people who are going to be desecrating their land.
Yeah, so, and this will certainly help, Senator Krueger Assembly Member Pels push it over to finish line. So thank you. So I move that we jointly pass this resolution, support this vital resolution on high energy use cryptocurrency mining facilities.
I will second.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moves. Awesome. And then we had our first, as far as I can tell, but I'm never gonna make a statement about any first evers again. But as far as I could tell, and definitely first in the past 10 years, Women's History Month resolution. Tim, you had a friendly amendment. Should I read this and then you say your amendment? Cool. So, whereas Women's History Month serves as an opportunity to recognize, reflect upon, and celebrate not only the historical contributions of women in our society, but to also recognize and elevate the contributions women are making every day in our communities. And whereas following a 1980 week-long proclamation by President Carter, Congress passed Public Law 100-9 in 1987, formally designating March as Women's History Month, and since 1995, annual proclamations have been issued by the sitting president to celebrate women's roles in improving American life and culture. And whereas New York State is home to the women's suffrage movement, as the first women's rights convention was held in 1848 in Seneca Falls. However, Wyoming was the first state to grant women the right to vote in 1869. In 1920, women were finally granted the right to vote with the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. And whereas breaking barriers in civil rights, law, and politics, Representative Jeanette Rankin of Montana was the first woman elected to the House of Representatives in 1916, 4 years before women had the right to vote nationally. Rebecca Felton of Georgia was the first woman appointed to serve in the Senate in 1922. Nellie Taylor Ross of Wyoming was elected as the first woman to serve as governor of a state in 1925. Hattie Caraway of Arkansas was the first woman elected to the Senate in 1932. In 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt nominated the first female cabinet secretary, Frances Perkins, who served as Secretary of Labor. In 2019, New York State Senator Andrea Stewart Cousins became the first woman and, of course, the first African American to serve as New York State Senate Majority Leader. Also in 2019, New York State Attorney General Letitia James made history as the first woman, first African American, and first woman of color elected to this position in New York State. And she's also the first woman of color to hold statewide office in New York. In 2020, Vice President Kamala Harris was the first woman, first Black woman, and the first Asian American elected to serve as Vice President of the United States. And whereas the contributions by women to local politics and government begins with Judith Trachtenberg, my new friend, who was the first woman appointed to the position of village mayor in 1983. In 1996, Susan Zimmett smashed the glass ceiling locally as the first ever woman elected town of New Paltz supervisor. Other women trailblazers in New Paltz political history include Carol Roper, Jean Bellucci, and countless others who've stepped up in each of their own political moments and who proved we've come a long way from the Duzine, aka the 12 men. And whereas among local historic figures, Judy Jackson, for whom our playground is named, is of particular importance as a formerly enslaved African American who became a beloved and oft-cited town historian, sought after for her deep knowledge of early 19th century New Paltz, often quoted in the papers. Whereas the glass ceiling continues to gain new cracks, as there remain many opportunities for historic firsts for women, including a woman to the position of Village of New Paltz mayor and electing a woman to the office of President of the United States. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the village and town of New Paltz proclaim March 2026 Women's History Month, and be it further resolved in recognition of the vast contributions of women, the village and town hereby call upon residents, employers, public officials, and all community members to work together to intentionally engage in this month-long celebration with commemorative events that honor and display the achievements of all women and local women in politics and government in particular, whose many and varied contributions have enriched all of our lives in this great community, state, and nation. And be it further resolved, we will send this off to all the higher up offices. And I so move this resolution.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Thanks for putting this together. I appreciate what you were saying earlier in that, you could have written a Women's History Month resolution addressing countless contributions from women, and we chose to focus on politics and government, to create a theme. So, really impressive, good, historical resolutions. I appreciate that. My addition has nothing to do with your resolution.
Oh, okay.
It's more of just like a fun shout out to a local business in New Paltz. I learned about it late this afternoon. So Jen and Seth from Karma Road, we want to congratulate them on running a successful business for many years, and they are selling their business. So that's kind of like bittersweet. It's exciting for them to move on. But why I'm sharing it now is because they're selling it to Pippa, who will be the new owner of Karma Road. She was the former manager. And the new manager will also be the woman. So it'll be a 100% owned and operated restaurant in New Paltz, a beloved institution. So I just wanted to share that.
Awesome. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone. And next year we could pick another thing and run with it. Yeah. Cool. So, motion to adjourn the joint town and village portion of the meeting. And
I'm gonna move that the town board enters into executive session to call our attorney regarding litigation.
cool. And so that's at 8 o'clock exactly on the dot.
Second that. Second.
We'll see you in a little bit. And I call to order the village only board meeting. So we'll give them a second to the shuffle. Yeah. All right, so I move to approve the village consent agenda exactly as it is. All in favor? Aye. Awesome. And I move to add the following items to the village business agenda. And sorry, I left this one out, 2026-2027 budget discussion. And the MS4 item, which is sewer, honestly, we'll get to that. So those two additions, I move to approve the village business agenda as amended. So, all in favor? Aye. Cool. So first up on our village agenda, we have the proposal of an augmented communication board for the playground. You want to come on up? Yes, please. Yay, thank you so much. So nice to meet you. You know, a face to the names. Please share and I circulated them up with us. And then I'll ask you to like pull the chair up or sit wherever I feel comfortable. And then I guess I'll let you introduce yourself, but I'm just like, hey, you come on here. Yes.
So my name is Stephanie Harrigan. I'm a speech language pathologist at Duveen Elementary School. I've been a resident of New Paltz for the past 16 years. I had been serving the most complex of communicators you can think of for the past 15 years. So I worked at the Center for Discovery over in Monticello, New York, where I worked with children and adults that are non-speaking and have really complex needs and medical needs. I moved to Duveen just this year, and I have recognized such the importance of really getting children to be able to communicate within their communities. So the proposal that I have is to install a what's called a core communication board. A core communication board at Hasbrook Park. So what a core communication board is just visuals, if you guys are not aware. They're visuals for children or adults to use to point to say what they need.
May I pause you? Yeah, sorry. So it gets a bit difficult for this mayor who has ADHD to pay attention when everyone's talking. But yeah, I can answer questions at the end of the meeting if you don't mind. Folks in the audience, cool. Thank you.
So a core communication board is just basically a board of visuals so that kids or adults can point to the items that they need. So this is the board that I have come up with. You can see that there are words that are usable across context. So like I want, me, you. But then there's also what's called fringe vocabulary, so playground specific vocabulary. elementary. So I chose vocabulary that tries to be really expansive and allows for neurodivergent children, but also neurotypical children that might not be able to communicate quite yet to be able to use it. The reason why I want to do this is to create more inclusive spaces. Working now within a town that I live is such a beautiful thing, but I definitely see the need for my students at Duzine and at Lenape to be more a part of their community. I was lucky enough, I kind of explored options, obviously need your approval first. But Boyer Science up in Phoenicia is willing to donate, if you go through your papers, to donate the actual physical board, which is a very expensive thing. It's about $400. So it's like weatherproof material, he'll print it for us. So basically what I'm asking for you guys is lumber. Also, I thought, additionally, I know we spoke a little bit about installing it. I didn't know if even like looking at a local Eagle Scout might be a good project for this, or a Girl Scout troop. So yeah, that is my intention, is just to help these kids communicate and be a little bit more inclusive of a community within our program.
I love this. Thank you. And that was a great presentation. On the installation and the mounting end, our superintendent of public works, Lou, was like, that seems like not a problem at all. Put it up, you know, and our village attorney and treasurer basically said the process would be for us to hear from you and ask any questions. And then if the board wanted to move ahead, we would make a motion to, you know, accept the donation and to approve the village taking on the expense and work of doing the actual installation. You know, yeah, because we've got hardware and lumbers, boards, you know, figured out. And I do love the idea of, you know, maybe involving Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, etc. But maybe we could just get this done and find another way for them to be involved, because I'm working with a local Girl Scout troop on a whole big, for their bronze project, a garden project for not only outside Village Hall, but also in Hasbrook Park. And the Scouts were very interested in doing, which I think would be a complementary project to this, a touching, feeling, sensory garden.
Oh, yes.
Like right by the park, and like imagining this augmented board, and then next to that, the touching, feeling, senses garden. Yeah,
I would
so
love to help with that. Yes.
cool. So maybe that's how we had other scouts involved in mind, maybe them helping with those installation of those gardens, because these are brownies, so you know they're kind of they're very little, you know. So maybe if we had maybe slightly older scouts who wanted to do the actual building of like the base for the garden or something, that would be a cool way.
There's also a really great organization called Abilities in Bloom based out of Gardner, and so they have a special needs garden at Majestic Park. And so it's tended by students with special needs, so that might be a nice moment.
Oh my gosh, thank you for that tip. That's awesome. I'll check that out. I do like to skateboard there sometimes. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you.
I'd say as a spouse of a speech pathologist, what you're doing, and thanks for the idea, thanks for the initiative.
Thank you.
To move forward this way, and thanks, Alex, for, you know, paving the way for making it possible.
So responsive. I emailed her at like 9 o'clock on a Tuesday, and it was like 9:15. She's like, "I love this." So I appreciate it. Me too.
I'm a millennial mayor now, you know. Great. Okay, so yeah, okay. And then do you have any questions for us that are
no, I'm happy to facilitate in any way that you guys need me to do. Even if it, you know, like a training or like any kind of documentation that explains the project a little bit more.
Yeah,
if
it can help.
Yeah.
In case we get like, you know, questions that we can't answer, that would be helpful, like a little guide, and you know, we can do, I was thinking we could plan like maybe not a ribbon cutting, but like, you know, like a yay, the sign's up, and then have a demonstration.
Right, that sounds wonderful.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, I would love that.
Thank you. And if you can be the liaison, you know, of course, with the group donating the board,
Yeah.
be on copy and I'll loop in our public works folks and stuff. So yeah, wonderful.
I was to say, if it could be done in a weatherproof way, it might be a really great opportunity to have it like an explainer on the back of the
Yeah,
side. So that,
Absolutely,
you know, we can educate the public on the
Yeah.
purpose of it, and the use of it, and just
absolutely.
maybe some general.
Great, yeah, I'll write something up and I'll send that to you,
Yeah.
and then I can probably, I'm sure, he's so lovely, Ken is his name, from Boyer Sign, so I'm sure he can add that on.
Cool. And we can put that on the website too. Yeah.
The park is made of really nice materials in terms of its touchability and stuff like that. There's not actually a lot of pressure treated stuff. But just the thought that it's possible to make use like materials that are durable and also kids touching it, they're not going to assist them touching it.
Wondering. Yeah, so ideally, in like what I have envisioned is like a 5 foot wide board by 3 foot tall and like obviously low enough for emergency fingers to touch. So yeah, great. I use the park all the time with my children, so it's cool.
Awesome. So yeah, I guess I'll make some motions here. And then, okay, so I move to accept the donation of this outdoor communication board range from Boyer Sign Company in Phoenicia. All in favor? And I move to approve the village taking on the expense and energy of installing the court board. All in favor? Aye. Awesome. And so yeah, to be continued. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you guys for your time. Get back to our agenda real quick.
So I was gonna put our apologies to our clerks for moving things around, but I figured I'd get in our village budget discussion before there's more shuffling around when, you know, folks get back around exec sesh. So let's jump into our added item of village budget discussion. So just a reminder to folks out in the wild, in the public, that at our last meeting, we presented our tentative budget for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. And we voted to set the public hearing to open on April 1st, which gives us all, you know, this whole month basically of March to really pour through it, go meet with Nancy, our treasurer, and ask questions, and, you know, bring ideally any suggested edits to this meeting. And if not, you know, give me a call in the next few days, and you know, I can work through those ideas that you may have or questions you may have with Nancy's help, of course. And, you know, the bottom line, that again, for the public is, you know, we are, you know, not raising our taxes yet again. It was certainly a stretch, but, you know, in the village where, you know, we have, according to fiscal stressors report, you know, as rich as in spirit as we are not like as a community, you know, so always have to keep that in mind. And we've gone up a full 10% in our tenant population. We've increased in how many people are unemployed actually recently too within the village. You know, like the portrait of the village, like in a bubble, when you don't include us in with the town, is just a different story. So that's a big part of why I really felt it was important to make sure this was not the year that we raised taxes even a tiny bit, you know. But yeah, does anyone have any questions or like ideas or anything that you would like me to bring back to the drawing board?
I had a few things I wanted to share. First of all, I had the opportunity to meet with Nancy Branco about the budget, and she's incredibly helpful. Those of you who don't know, she's the treasurer. She's incredibly helpful, incredibly knowledgeable. Doesn't have to refer to much to give you answers to details that she knows. And so it's both like so helpful for us to have someone that professional and that experience in that role. And also, you know, as a person who runs an organization, I always think about, oh my God, we replace a person like that. So, you know, just have to really think about like how valuable that she is. And just a couple of things I wanted to put into the ether, but they're not recommendations for change necessarily. So One is that, as I look at this question of the idea the village hasn't raised taxes in as long as we haven't, which, on the surface and even in reality is a really important decision that this village has made for as many years as it's made it. And especially this year, sharing Alex, making in the context of the fact that we're in a very uncertain economy, we're in a very unstable, economic environment as far as I'm concerned, and also that there's some particular things happening in this village, maybe tenancy increasing, rents increasing, unemployment increasing. So, without advocating for the idea of raising taxes, I just want to also share that there are sort of implications to the fact that we don't raise taxes in this village. One of the things is that we're in this position where we seem to put ourselves third in line to the school, who has had to raise taxes annually, significantly, and not all for reasons of their own, which that's not our topic, so I won't comment on, but the school's in a difficult fiscal position and they're continually raising taxes. I have taken the opportunity, especially in this consolidation process, to look into the town's finances and recognize that the town has raised taxes every year for 10 years, if I have it right. And what those tax increases every year for 10 years have done is created a reserve of nearly $10 million that the town has on its balance sheet, all at the cost of the village saying, well, we're not going to raise taxes because the schools are and the town is, so let's keep ours down. But the result for that is deferred maintenance in things that matter to us, roads and sidewalks and personnel deficits and capacity constraints that I've heard from talking to people in the village offices. We don't really have nice things in the village like a lot of other villages have. We have some recreation, but not what other places have. We have some programs, but not what a lot of other villages like ours have. So, I think that I just want to point out that this idea of holding taxes level and allowing the schools in the town to raise them, and I think we put ourselves in that context, so we continue to be sensitive about it, has consequences, instead of putting in a position that we really do want to think about what that looks like, especially if we don't move towards consolidation. And and the last point about it is it just highlights this question of how pilots harm our community. And so we have the village doesn't raise taxes and has pilots approved without its permission. That's another really challenging factor. And then the other sort of factor that sits with it is also that is assessments, and where assessment of our village also really suppresses our tax base significantly.
That's what I was gonna bring up actually, like as a proposal, rather than, increasing taxes, I would much rather do a full reassessment, if permitted by law, start with commercial properties, go from there. That would be a major way to actually impact things and help keep our tax rate steady.
Yeah. So and also, a potentially challenging and unpopular thing for our residents too. And so think about what the consequences.
Like I do one or the other, is what
impact
I was
that would be.
thinking. Yeah.
So I appreciate having the floor for this while because it's my first year serving, obviously, and I've taken a lot of time to look into what I think is my responsibility to understand this. And what I find is that, like, hooray, I'm a village resident too, so I'm glad village taxes aren't going up. But what I also believe is that it is something that we really need to kind of assess every year and not have ourselves be third in line to tax increases by the town and schools. And also to really think carefully about the impact of not raising taxes for as long as we have, and the deferred maintenance and the personnel constraints and, potholes and issues with our sidewalks that our town is doing, our village is doing so much to do with so little resource. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like it was a really good check-in with Nancy. Definitely encourage the rest of y'all. If you have any questions, like we have this iconic resource on our team. So go down to the layer. You can see our amazing treasurer anytime. Anything else on budget? So yeah, if you think of anything else, hit me up anytime, and otherwise I will do some like social media posting just to reshare out and a letter to the editors and remind everyone if anyone has thoughts, that we want to hear them in our public hearing. It would be awesome. Cool. So, I again apologize for our clerks, but the other added item I just put in my notes next. So, our MS4 report. So this I did want to explain, like, is under a real time constraint. So it was a very last minute addition, but because it has to be done. So basically, Walden, who, we've been working with on, the stormwater management plan updates and the annual report. They finished both of those. Basically, they've been sent over to Heather, our amazing Department of Public Works Secretary. And so that's why it's on our board tonight. Basically, what we have to do is approve to post the annual MS4 report to the village website for public review and comment. And then for me to be the person that signs off on the annual certification. So it's like a process thing. And, if you all have more questions, since it was thrown at us very last minute, just call, email, text anytime tomorrow, next day, and I will get you all your answers. But I move to approve the posting of our annual MS4 report to the village website for public review and comment, and for myself, Mayor Alexandria Wojcik, to sign the annual certification. Second. All in favor? Aye. Cool. So next one's pretty perfunctory. I move to adopt the resolution approving to designate Mayor Alexander Wojcik as a certifying officer for the Village of New Paltz, New York State HCR CFA consent order compliance sanitary sewer rehabilitation project approved as OCR CDBG grant number 793 PR 105-25. Second. All in favor? Aye. And yeah, so I think it wound up being both of them, right? Yeah, cool. So we already did that. Or is that a different one? Is there an agreement? No, yeah, we approved me to sign them. Okay, cool. So I move to approve our resolution for bills and claims. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any planning board report?
There are some, I would say the most significant item on the agenda was amendments to, 137 North Chestnut, one of the big development buildings, the NDR. Changes to the streetscape, changes to some elements of how they're using the space. And so it's a project that was already approved following seeker, but now it is back in front of the planning board with some changes that, aren't very significant, but are something. And then the other was a lot of residential small projects.
Any reports since last time?
There was just one discussion, and really the core issue really had to do with allowing variance for residential use of a garage in what would be a business requirement, use. So it was really kind of an interesting discussion about at what point do you make the property owner kind of suffer financially in order to keep that business density in the B2 district. So no decision was reached. It's punted on.
I think that's a question that's happening statewide right now in general. Always questions of density and processes.
And really,
and costs.
what density do you need for the village to have a synergy of businesses in that just stuff? And it's interesting, there were local businesses which was really advocating for them not to get the variance. And when other people were advocating for it kind of made sense in other respects. So it was a real interesting discussion.
Cool, thank you. All right, I think that's it for village. So motion to adjourn the village only portion of the meeting. All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
I wanted to share that, I moved that we back and Kate seconded it. And then I also want to, make a motion. So regarding the resolution that was shared with the town board, the title of the resolution is resolution rescinding prior resolutions. Number 12 and 13 from 2025 and authorizing settlement of proceedings. This is all related to annexation for U.S. apartments. I move that we adopt this resolution. However, the resolution shall take effect upon a settlement agreement, which requires a flat fee of $10,000 payable to the town for reimbursement of legal costs. Someone on second line of the motion, second discussion.
I'd like to discuss, we have been working on this for 4 years. I did testify at the scoping session. I'm not happy with some of the language in the settlement stipulation. I see that they use the term multifamily housing, and it may meet the technical definition of multifamily housing. But the floor plans make it unlikely that a family with children would move into a unit shared with strangers. I hope I'm wrong, but I think our municipal employees, small business owners, emergency service volunteers will be unable to find an apartment suitable for a family in this complex. The settlement says that annexation is in the overall public interest. The town finding statement disagrees with that on almost every merit, and those are detailed in our finding statement. The settlement says that the Sterling Environmental Engineering Report, which was completed because we found the soil management report conducted by the developers to be inadequate. And so the settlement uses the term purported, suggesting that Sterling's professional conclusions were unsupported, but they don't identify any specific errors or deficiencies. And in fact, my opinion is that the town's findings are consistent with and supported by the Sterling report. I want to remind my colleagues, as I'm sure you've all read in the town finding statement, that one reason we felt that annexation was not in the public interest is that all the $1 million of recreation fees will remain in the village to be used as stated in the FEIS at the village's discretion. The town's recreational facilities at the Field of Dreams, Clearwater Memorial Park, and Pool on Welfare are in urgent need of improvement. As we made the case in our finding statement, if the project stayed in the town, that $1 million could go to use throughout the town. I want to remind the public that in 2008, a group called Save Our Woods and Wetlands brought a lawsuit against Woodland Pond for violating wetlands adjacent to their property. And Woodland Pond came up with a $50,000 settlement that was split between the town and the village to benefit education and research. And in fact, there is still a video out there. So my feeling is that this multi-$1 million corporation showed at least much that's $50,000 that could go towards our own recreational and other needs. So I would like to amend the resolution at the very least to change the number from $10,000 to $50,000.
it's my motion on, for that question. Do we have any other comments from the, my board colleagues?
I would like to just say a comment in favor of moving forward with the plan. I think that this has been discussed for a long time. I think that the village under their jurisdiction is the lead agency going through this process, did a good job. And I am for one looking forward to seeing it moving forward.
I would just like to remind everyone that adding $1 million to $2,000 is 5%. So if we're getting really, if we're going to stop a project based on 5% more money, they're already giving us $1 million, and it's not a significant amount of money in terms of the project, in terms of the taxes that are going to come in. So that to just keep to hold this up for $50,000, that means it's going to be another year that we're not going to get revenue. We're not going to get that money. The village or the town, they're getting money for recreation that benefits everyone in the area. So I think this is great.
Okay, the town is not getting that $1 million.
Yeah, you made that clear.
Okay.
Yeah, you so
And I could add, because I tried to explain this to last year, Kitty, that A, the village's rec fee is higher. B, the village, and I think this speaks to all, spirit of consolidation is the best way forward. And this is the only way we've discussed, sharing anything within any of the consolidation conversations that we've had. If there are rec fees collected by the village or rec fees collected by the town, they should just be put into a community-wide rec fee fund. And I would imagine that the village would be, this current administration, I think, would probably be pretty comfortable with, also, sharing that, just as we did last year. So I find it kind of curious that you're, regularly just re-throwing the same spaghetti against the wall and hoping it sticks. Any other questions comments from the board? All in favor?
No.
Okay. So, great.
You wanna
So,
call the vote?
yeah, we can
Roll
do
call.
the roll call. So, Kate,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Kitty,
No.
Lauren,
No.
Tim, aye. So passes 3-0.
Cool. So,
So you guys have your resolution?
Did we close our meeting?
yeah, we did. And then I'm,
You can reopen.
yeah, so, and then I'm also, did you all see everything I've shared or?
Well, we have via email, but it's not in tonight's agenda.
Yeah, well, it was basically one that was like, if they do this, then that, then we do this, kind of thing. So yeah, motion to quickly reopen the village portion of the agenda. So, all in favor? All right, motion to, pass the village resolution, accepting the, town's resolution regarding the annexation of the false apartments. So.
Quick discussion. Thanks. As a person who served on the village planning board for 7 or 8 years, including nearly the entire period where this project was under review for seeker review, and as the lead agency on that seeker review, I did have an opportunity to look really carefully at all the elements of this project, and I was part of the vote to pass the seeker and also to recommend with my decision the annexation of the property for the possibility of moving this project forward. And I say possibility because I think it's really important for us to also recognize that there's still a site plan review to be done on this project, which is going to be a years-long investment in lots of the details that have to do with the number of apartments and the configuration and spaces and all those things. So, I think that my comment is one to share that
I feel really confident in the idea of moving this forward. I've done doing that work for years on the project. And my second one is that if there are people that feel really strongly about elements of this project that they think should be different than the current version that got reviewed for secret purposes, this is the time to come to that public hearing, to come to those planning board meetings, and to make sure that the project lives up to its promises to the village and the town in a way that makes it beneficial to.
Thanks.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Awesome. Motion to re-adjourn to village meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move the town consent agenda. Anyone second? One in favor?
Aye.
I move that we authorize approval of the March 26th warrant in the amount of $569,367.80. One in favor? I move that we request authorization to use CBIZ to update the fixed asset record for 2025 at a cost of $2,270. I move that we approve the parking signs for the Ridge fundraiser on May 2nd. All in favor? Move that we authorize approval of the IKEA storage units. All in favor? Good publication, so we have a draft now that we can chew on. Do we want to have any conversation about it tonight, or we can put it on April?
Oh, you should announce it, you scheduling it. Right, it's not gonna be April 2nd.
Yeah, that's like second.
Would we be discussing it in April or now?
No. If you want to discuss or ask any questions, certainly do it now, but.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said, Tim. We didn't do that here. Sorry. Could you repeat that?
So we have a draft for good cause eviction,
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
the rental renewal law.
Yeah.
So it mirrors the town or the villages rental renewal law. So we'll be discussing it and considering whether or not to hold a public hearing on the law. But I'm just offering you the opportunity to ask any questions about it now. What? Okay, so we don't have to take any action on that, we're just kind of like continuing it up for a consultation. Item number 6, I authorize approval of Jim Delaney's resignation from the town community preservation. Advisory board is effective March 12th, so it's active. Favor?
Aye.
And I move that we change the scheduled April 2nd town board meeting to Thursday, April 9th to accommodate Passover. Favor?
I just wanted to comment that I called the rabbi because I wanted to make sure that April 9th was an acceptable day. And actually, if we really want to be respectful, he said the meeting should probably not be during this Monday. So I won't be able to attend anyway all night, but just for your consideration.
April 9th.
April 9th is the last day of Passover. And it officially ends at sundown that night, and I think it's.
How many days is Passover?
That starts on the first, like, yes.
Right, so yeah, my understanding is like the first and the second were important Passover.
They are, what Rabbi Selena Jones projected was Passover ends this year on April 9th at sundown. Yes, so a meeting after that time, after 8:15, would be fine for observant Jews.
I mean, the request that I received from the community was to be mindful of the first and the second. So all in favor?
Aye.
I move that we authorize approval of the highway department to auction off a dump truck, accepting a bid of $8,400. In favor?
Aye.
I move that we request authorization to modify the adopted 26 budget for classification of leases, and the details appear. All in favor? Move to adjourn. On the favor.
Aye.
How many?